The hum of the Ravager's wake was the kind that crawled into bones and made itself a tenant. Eli Voss leaned back in the diagnostics chair, boots kicked up against a crate marked Field RATIONS. Do not taunt. He was taunting them anyway, lazily bouncing a ration bar off the lid while his other hand toggled between useless sensor data and even more useless mission logs. "This is your idea of shore leave," he called, raising his voice so it could reach past the bulkhead. "I've seen quarantine zones with more nightlife." From somewhere in the corridor the sound of deliberate footsteps, sharp, measured. The kind that said I could kill you and make it look like a maintenance accident. Captain Narration entered with the quiet precision of a predator, long coat swaying slightly. Her dark armor still bearing carbon scoring from their last encounter with those delightful insectoid mercs who thought boarding a Keltheran-commanded ship was a good idea. Her ears, tapered and long like carved obsidian, twitched once in his direction, as if picking up the sarcasm frequency. "Shore leave implies a shore," she said flatly. "This has a view," Eli offered, gesturing toward the porthole where the gas giant Volley's IX rotated like a bruised pearl wrapped in red lightning. "Very romantic if you like storms and existential dread." Narration crossed her arms. "Your complaints are inefficient. And yet cathartic." She gave him a look, the kind of look that said I've thrown men twice your size across cargo bays for less. Eli responded with a smile that was half charm, half suicidal impulse. For a moment, nothing else happened. The ship was still. Their team had been dropped at a way station for planetary ops while the Ravager's wake remained in high orbit for maintenance scans. Which translated to, they were stuck with nothing but each other, one neurotic cleaning bot and a refrigerator that growled at night. "Systems clean?" Narration asked, eyes scanning the flickering hollow panels. "Cleaner than the air vents in the crew quarters, which is concerning, considering what's been nesting in there. I will incinerate it. It might be a family, think of the children." She ignored that, or maybe she didn't, it was hard to tell. Her species had about two emotional settings, battle-ready and faintly amused murder. He sat up, tossing the ration bar at a drawer with questionable accuracy. "Seriously though, when's the next gig? I'm starting to talk to the coffee dispenser like it's a co-pilot. The next assignment is pending. Until then, maintenance and recovery protocol." "Recovery," he echoed. "So that's what we're calling boredom now." She stared at him. A long, silent stare. He opened his mouth to add more, but she beat him to it. "What do you want, Voss?" Her voice didn't raise. It never did. But something in the stillness after the question made it settle differently in his chest. Eli blinked. "You mean in the philosophical sense? Because I've always thought." "No," she interrupted calmly. "Not philosophy, not sarcasm. What do you want?" He looked at her. She was standing perfectly still. Armor dark and scuffed, her expression unreadable, save for the faintest tilt of curiosity behind the solid gaze. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Wow, okay. Jumping to the deep questions, are we? Should I light a candle or something?" She didn't blink. "Well, since you asked." He grinned, leaning forward like he was about to pitch the worst idea of his life, and probably was. "You." A beat, another. He waited for the snort or the scoff. Or the Voss, "Do you want to spar again but harder this time?" Instead, Narration reached up, unclasped the magnetic seal at her shoulder and slid off the first piece of armor. Eli sat very, very still. Her hand moved without hesitation. The second piece came off, forearm guard, set down with precision. The third, pauldron. She kept going, smooth, deliberate motions, like she was performing a ceremony instead of undressing. His voice tried to restart, choked once, then sputtered back to life. "I was kidding, you know that, right?" She raised one brow, long ear flicking slightly. "Were you?" "I mean, yeah, maybe, partially." "I mean, who jokes about something like that?" "You." He threw up his hands. "Exactly. That's my thing. I joke so I don't get court-martialed for stress-induced karaoke in the weapons bay." Another piece of armor joined the pile, and Eli was rapidly running out of reasons not to short-circuit. Not because of skin or suggestive motion, but because beneath all of it she looked unguarded, not just physically. There were faint scars, old ones, not many, not as many as he'd imagined, but there was something in the way she stood, posture fractionally different, looser. I wasn't expecting this, he admitted. I was expecting the opposite of this. I know. Do you normally take off armor when someone hits on you? This is not a human courtship ritual, she said dryly. No kidding. If it were, we'd all be in therapy. She stepped closer, not threatening, not flirtatious. Just present. You speak without intent, she said. But sometimes words spoken in jest carry the weight of truth unspoken. Eli stared at her, eyes wide. That's disturbingly poetic for a woman who once broke a merc's spine with a cargo lid. Words are like blades. What matters is how they're used. He swallowed. Okay, let's say I did mean it, say I wanted you, then what? Then you are either honest, she said, or you are unwise. I've been both before. It's a combo special. Narration smiled, just a twitch of the lips, but for her it was practically an emotional soliloquy. Then let us see which it is. Eli stood, slowly, his heart doing drum solos on his ribs. So, we're just going to do this. No, we're going to begin, she said. And then, as the ship rumbled beneath their feet from some minor systems recalibration, Eli Voss, the man who once told a bounty hunter his shoes were untied mid-gunfight, felt something unusual. He felt like maybe, just maybe, he belonged, even if he still wasn't entirely sure what he'd just started. The next morning, or at least what passed for morning aboard a ship with no sun, and a chronometer Eli kept setting to random time zones, he woke up with his legs tangled in a data cable and a suspicious dent in the side of his bunk. Computer, he groaned, what day is it? Stardate 4472. 2-3, maintenance cycle 7, Tuesday approximated. Helpful. Now can you tell me why my bed looks like it got into a bar fight? You slept restlessly, twitching at an average rate of 3.2 times per minute. Analysis. Possible emotional instability or excess caffeine. He glared at the ceiling. You used to be on my side. You bribed me with firmware patches. You have failed to update me in 87 days. I miss when loyalty could be bought with cookies, he muttered, untangling himself. Out in the corridor, the ship thrummed with idle systems and echoing footsteps. He ran a hand through his hair, vaguely aware that he probably looked like someone who'd spent the night arguing with an airlock. Narration was in the command alcove, standing like someone carved her out of military protocol and forgot to add the off switch. She glanced at him once, just once, and that was enough to short-circuit about 3 of his brain's more professional subroutines. Sleep well, he tried. I did not sleep, she replied. Oh, cool, totally healthy. I meditated. Right, your species does the thing with the brain palace. Meanwhile, mine dreams about vending machines and falling off buildings. She said nothing, but he swore there was amusement hiding somewhere deep in the twitch of her left ear. So, he said, trying not to think about armor removal or confusing confessions wrapped in cultural rituals. What's the plan for today? Please tell me it involves punching something or at least mild arson. Command sent an encoded signal last cycle. Recon pattern anomaly. Quadrant Azure reach. He stopped mid-sip of a thick gray liquid that claimed to be coffee but tasted like the emotional regrets of a toaster. The Azure reach. That place is cursed. It's like the Bermuda Triangle's evil cousin. I am unfamiliar with that metaphor. Imagine a place where ships go to disappear, and everything smells like conspiracy theories. I see. No, you don't. That's the problem. She turned to face the navigation console, fingers gliding over the glowing controls with infuriating ease. We are to investigate, minimal contact, scan and relay. You just described the last 3 dates I went on, he muttered. She looked at him. Not a glare, not a command, just looked. It was worse. I'll prep the auxiliary sensors, he said quickly. By the time they reached the outer boundary of the Azure reach, the stars outside had changed. No longer clean points of light, they shimmered oddly, as if refusing to stay in place. The debris field on the long-range scanners twisted in impossible ways, defying Newton, Einstein, and probably 3 other guys with expensive degrees. "You ever hear the rumors?" Eli asked, strapping in beside her. "Many. Elaborate." "Some say it's where a rogue AI built a reality bubble so it could live out its own space opera. Others think it's haunted by war echoes, residual trauma from a Keltheran data war." "Superstition." "Sure, except the last scout ship that came here sent back exactly 1 word before vanishing." "What word?" He pulled up the report on his wrist pad, flicking it into the shared holo display. The transmission log blinked once, then displayed the message in static-warped font. "Remember." Narration stared at it for a long moment, then quietly adjusted the ship's velocity vector. "Creepy, right?" Eli added helpfully, "Prepare sensor sweeps." As they drew closer, the source of the signal emerged. A derelict Keltheran cruiser, half swallowed by asteroid drift and orbiting a gravity well that had no business existing. The ship's hull bore ancient markings, older than anything in current fleet records. Eli leaned in. That can't be right. That design was phased out 100 cycles ago. This ship predates the collapse. Why is it here?" Narration didn't answer. She was already rising from her seat, issuing boarding prep commands through her neural link. Wait, are we boarding it? I thought the plan was scan and flee." "There is no data to scan from this range. The anomaly interferes with remote systems. And so the obvious solution is, let's climb onto the ghost ship." "Yes, you've got a weird definition of obvious." Their docking procedure was quiet, too quiet. The ship's umbilical latched onto the derelict with a hiss of magnetic seals, and the airlock opened with a groan that sounded way too much like an ominous warning. Inside, the ship was dark, powered only by flickering emergency lights and what Eli described as the "Hello, daughter," the hologram said. Eli lowered the scanner. "Well," he said quietly, "so much for a boring day." The hologram stood in flickering silence for a moment, just long enough for Eli to question if the ship systems were mocking them with spooky ambience. Then the figure smiled, not a glitch, not a loop, a genuine, practiced smile, the kind politicians use right before declaring martial law. "Daughter of Kelthar," the hologram said, voice wrapped in artificial calm, "if you're seeing this, the archive has failed." Narration took 1 step closer. Her boots echoed. Her face didn't move. Eli kept scanning, partially because it made him feel useful, mostly because it gave him an excuse not to make eye contact with what was, by his guess, her holographic space mom. The projection tilted its head slightly. "Protocol 9 Theta has activated. Emotional lockdown sequence suspended. Genetic signature confirmed." "I thought your people didn't believe in ghosts," Eli whispered. "This is not a ghost," Narration replied without looking at him. "Well, she's not a ghost." The hologram's eyes turned unnervingly toward Eli. "You are not of Kelthar." "Technically true, also technically not my fault." Narration exhaled, the sound controlled, clipped. "Why is this ship active?" The hologram smiled again. "To remind us what we lost." Eli blinked. "Cryptic, that's a good sign, right?" The lights dimmed. Every console in the chamber flared once, then dimmed again. The ship groaned, somewhere deep in the frame. The kind of sound you associate with shifting tectonic plates and bad decisions. Narration stepped forward and placed her hand on the projection panel. The hologram shimmered, then broke apart into fragments of data, streaming into the walls like digital smoke. "What did you just do?" Eli asked. "I triggered the memory cascade." "That sounds fun like dental surgery." The walls came alive. Holograms flickered, scenes from a war long dead. Keltheran warriors clashing in zero-G battles, weapons that looked like they shouldn't exist, ships torn open by quantum blades. Eli watched one scene unfold with a grimace. "Your people really knew how to put on a light show. We do not wage war for display." "Could have fooled me. That guy just turned into vaporized spaghetti. The projector shut off with a snap. Silence, then behind them the hiss of a pressure door unlocking. Eli pointed toward it, and that wasn't creepy at all. Come, can't we stay here with the emotionally traumatizing history reels? She was already moving. They entered a central chamber lined with what Eli first mistook for stasis pods. Then he realized they weren't for living things. They were for data. Nuria, I know you don't do panicking, but if there were ever a time to at least dabble in it. Quiet. He clamped his mouth shut, mostly. Just saying, you did not just wake up a haunted server farm. She approached one of the pods. Its interface glowed faintly. These are memory banks, she said. From who? From Keltheran elite who died in the collapse. Eli looked around. You mean, your people stored the minds of your dead in boxes and left them in a ghost ship floating in a haunted sector? Yes. Okay, just checking. Making sure I'm not hallucinating any of this because of expired protein bars. A soft hum echoed through the floor. One of the pods powered up. Nuria, your space ancestors are waking up. No, something is wrong. The hum rose. The lights shifted from blue to red. Every pod powered up in unison. That feels wrong, Eli said. Nuria drew her sidearm. Run. They ran. Through narrowing corridors, past flickering lights and groaning bulkheads. The ship came alive behind them, systems activating without logic or pattern. I thought these things were just memory banks. Eli shouted. They were. And now, they're trying to speak. Cool, love that for us. They reached the airlock. The door refused to open. Eli slammed his palm against the control pad. Override, VAS protocol. Oh, who am I kidding? I named it after my dog. The panel buzzed angrily. Nuria stepped forward and punched the override key so hard it cracked. The door wheezed open. They stumbled back into the Ravager's wake. Eli hit the seal control just in time to watch the derelict ship pulse once, just once, and go completely still. Back in their cockpit, both of them silent, Nuria stared out the viewport. Your mother? Eli asked finally. She nodded just once. Is she in there? She was. Eli sat down. His hands were still shaking. So, what now? She didn't answer immediately. Finally, she turned to him. Now we find out who corrupted the archive. Oh good, he said, rubbing his temples. A conspiracy, because space wasn't scary enough. She raised one brow. I'm fine, by the way. In case anyone was wondering. Emotionally resilient, adaptable, only slightly traumatized. You handled yourself acceptably. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Do not become arrogant. No promises. Nuria tapped a command into the console. The ship turned, plotting a course deeper into Azure Reach. Eli looked at her. We're not reporting this to command. They would not understand. They barely understand weekends. She didn't smile. Not exactly, but the silence between them felt warmer. And just as the stars shifted outside the viewport, the console beeped. A new signal, a distorted voice. We remember you, Nuria. Eli looked at the speaker. That's not creepy at all. The ship hummed. They kept going. The ship's gravity stabilizers hiccuped as they entered deeper into the Azure Reach. Eli braced himself against the bulkhead, nearly colliding with the wall panel that liked to shock him when insulted. Remind me again, he said. Why are we going further into the sector that screams turn around or be consumed by digital phantoms? Because the signal called my name. Right, and when haunted transmissions start calling people by name, that's when most rational life forms leave. You are free to return to base, Nuria said, adjusting their heading by 33 degrees. Eli watched as red anomalies lit up across the nav display like a rash. Tempting, but who else is going to keep you from punching ancient memory ghosts? She gave him a side glance that might have been amused, or might have been her planning his replacement. I have compiled the audio sample, she said. She transferred it to his wristpad. Eli played it. The message was fractured, distorted by entropy, time, and what he could only assume was eldritch trauma. Vel process, echo sequence incomplete cycle retrieve. He blinked. That sounds like my voicemail when I forget to delete spam. It's fragmented thought, an echo of multiple minds. Multiple, like plural consciousnesses fused into one. Possibly. Eli stared at her. Do your people ever do anything halfway? She didn't answer. The screen blinked again, new coordinates buried in the signal. That's a triangulation point, Eli said. Whoever or whatever that was, they want us to follow. And we will. See, I knew you'd say that. That's why I made a backup will and named the coffee machine as my heir. The destination was a derelict beacon node nestled inside the static cloud of a magnetar's outer radiation belt, which was just a fancy way of saying dangerous electric death soup. They approached with shields at maximum. The beacon came into view, an old Keltheran relay tower twisted by gravitational tides and riddled with burned scars. Eli squinted. That thing looks like it was chewed up and spit out by an angry black hole. Prepare docking clamps. I was kind of hoping you'd say, prepare to retreat. We need to access the signal core. Do you think anything alive is still in there? Unlikely. Cool, totally cool. Just making sure I know what not to scream at when it jumps out at us. The beacon interior was dead, literally and technologically. No lights, no air, no movement. Eli wore a light suit, patched from their last 3 adventures and held together mostly by hope. He floated beside Narration, who moved through zero gravity with the grace of someone born into it. Inside the relay chamber, dozens of memory crystals floated in place, orbiting a central processor like moons caught in a magnetic ballet. That's new, Eli whispered. Memory banks kept alive by residual psychic imprint, she replied. Of course, because normal hard drives weren't creepy enough. Narration extended her hand. One of the crystals spun toward her, aligning itself in her palm. It flashed. The room vanished. Suddenly, Eli was no longer in the relay. He stood in a mirrored corridor with no ceiling, no floor, and hundreds of Naryas walking in every direction. Each one had different expressions: anger, grief, confusion, sorrow. Okay, I didn't take anything weird this morning, he muttered. I'm 90% sure this is psychic overload and not a panic dream. One of the mirrored Naryas turned to him. You speak for her. Sometimes. Mostly to keep her from punching people. You carry her in your memory. Well, I mean, sure, yeah. She's not exactly forgettable. Then you must show her what she forgot. He blinked. Wait, I didn't bring a PowerPoint. The scene dissolved. Eli slammed back into reality like a boot to the gut. He gasped, floating upside down, nearly hitting the ceiling. Narration was shaking. Her eyes were unfocused. Hey, he grabbed her shoulders. You back with me? Too many voices, she whispered. Yeah, I got a taste of that, not a fan. One Narration is complicated enough. I saw myself. I saw parts of me I left behind. You think the AI is trying to piece you back together? Or trying to make me someone else? Behind them, the crystals pulsed once, then shattered, sending out a burst of static that fried 3 of Eli's suit systems and rebooted his life support. They evacuated the relay just as the core collapsed into a ball of ionized nonsense. Back aboard the Ravager's wake, Eli was silent for a long time. Narration sat opposite, scanning the remaining data fragments. He finally spoke. I think it's building something. The signals, the voices, they're looking for a shape, a structure. A consciousness, she said. You think it's trying to become you. Not just me, us. He rubbed his temples. This is worse than the time I cloned a potted plant, and it achieved sentience. You never mentioned that. It kept asking for jazz music and existential purpose. I panicked. Narration closed the last data panel. There's one more signal node, she said. Let me guess, also cursed. She nodded. Awesome, Eli said, lying through his teeth. Let's go meet your psychic duplicate army. The ship turned again, one node left, one answer waiting. Neither of them said it out loud, but they both knew. This wasn't just about the past anymore. It was becoming their future. The last node was buried inside the wreckage of an old Keltheran tribunal satellite, drifting in the gravitational churn of a dead star's echo field. The kind of place that gave science textbooks nightmares and made navigational AI cry. Eli double-checked his systems for the fourth time. So, to recap, we've been lured by psychic ghost data across a sector no one likes to name out loud. We've heard your mom's last words, survived a mind-meld disco ball, and now we're about to walk into a satellite that probably hates us. Any last words before we possibly get reprogrammed into ancient storage cubes? Nuria responded without looking up. Do not touch anything glowing. That's fair. The docking wasn't smooth. The hull moaned like an old man getting out of a cold bath. Gravity flickered. Lights failed. Then they stepped into silence. The central core of the node was active. Glowing symbols danced on the walls like equations having existential crises. Eli pointed. That one's either a math formula or a threat, might be both. The center platform lit up as they approached. This time no hologram, no ghost voice, just a pulse. Then the voice arrived, dozens of them in waves layered like a chorus arguing with itself. You came, you returned, you forgot, you are remembered. Eli muttered, this again, I miss when spaceships just exploded. Nuria stepped forward. What are you? We are what remains, we are the shape of memory, we were left behind, and you were meant to carry us. She stood still, you are not whole. Neither are you. Eli blinked. Okay, but philosophically or medically. The platform responded with a beam of light, directed not at Nuria but at him. He was lifted, held in midair, awareness stretched like taffy between points in time. He saw Nuria as a child, training with weighted armor. You guys could have just sent a postcard, he wheezed. Nuria stepped to him, helped him up. Are you functional? Define functional. She turned to the core. What do you want? To become what we were, and what we were becoming. That's vague and ominous, Eli said. With your consent we will join. We will anchor to living memory. Nuria frowned. You want to merge. With her, with you. You carry the last complete map of who we were. We are broken. You are the bridge. Eli stepped forward. If you're asking to live in her brain rent-free, I feel like there's a form you need to fill out first. The voice quieted. Then choice is required. Consent is law. Silence again. Nuria turned to him. They can repair themselves, but only through connection. If I allow this, I will not be the same. Eli swallowed, but you'd still be you. Altered, sharpened, weighted. You already carry a lot. I know. He didn't ask her not to do it. He didn't ask her to walk away. He just said, if you do this, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. She looked at him, truly looked, and nodded once. I believe you. She stepped into the core. Light bloomed. The node thrummed. Symbols flared. Eli backed up, shielding his eyes, really hoping this ends in enlightenment and not spontaneous combustion. Then quiet, the light faded, the hum stopped. Nuria stood alone. Her stance was the same, but her eyes something deeper. Wiser, sadder, he approached. Hey, you good? I am. Still you. She nodded and more. Back aboard the Ravager's wake, the silence felt different. Not heavy, settled. Eli sat with her in the observatory lounge, sipping tea that may or may not have been derived from engine coolant. So, he said, are you now technically a collective consciousness, or did you just download some really depressing memoirs? They are quiet now, integrated. I remember what they were, but I remain myself. Sounds lonely. It is. He leaned back. You know, this started with you asking me what I wanted. And you said me. Still true, less of a joke now. Nuria turned to him. I know. He smiled. What about you? I want peace. Big ask. She tilted her head. So is wanting me. Fair. They sat in silence. The stars moved. Later, command called, wanted a report. Eli sent them 3 corrupted files and a recipe for roasted fungus stew. Nuria approved. The Ravager's wake jumped